very warm welcome to today's online web session on the topic change request execution monitoring and documentation. My name is Matthias Scholze and I work as CTO for Virtual.io. Today, we would like to show you an approach how you can monitor change request execution and get an audit-proof documentation after the execution period. Please note that we record the online session and ask your question in the chat, please. We will answer them at the end of the web session. With that, the stage is ready to start. So, today, I have experts in the web session who are professionally involved in change management. Therefore, I would like to say only a few words about change request management. With change request management, we want to implement a change in IT organization or business in a controlled manner. The reason for change is, for example, troubleshooting, optimization, or further developments. What we can observe here is that the effort for good documentation is high. The manual feedback regarding the execution of the change request is not objective, and the final documentation of the change request execution can be very time-consuming. These are exactly the points we want to improve with Virtual.io. The change request definition should be improved so that no misinterpretation is necessary. The execution of the change request should be monitored live so that one can intervene in the implementation process if necessary. After the end of the change request period, an audit-proof documentation of all changes and the status of the change request is created. How does it work? In order to monitor change requests, we need information about things that are affected by the change. The core of the Virtual.io platform is the asset and configuration inventory, which can provide us with exactly this information. The data is imported through the Virtual.io One Importer. It's a kind of agent and out-of-the-box integrations for third-party solutions. The setup is very simple and it takes them about 1 minute per data source to do it. So now we have a centralized data from different data sources, and that means we have a gold nugget of data on which all further solutions in Virtual.io are built. Based on the data and the change request solution of Virtual.io, we can detect changes, including the rule history. We can very precisely define a change request, monitor it, and finally document it. Stakeholders can be involved for each step of the change request execution process. With these capabilities, we can professionalize the preparation and execution of change requests. The change request result is very objective, and we've been surprised several times internally that a change that we thought was properly executed was not really executed as planned. And this objectivity enables us to provide internal departments or external customers with evidence of the work performed, to better control the work of service providers. And these are an important core base for audits, certification, etc. Let's dare to take another look at imported and centralized data in Virtual.io. On the right side, you can see an example of a host machine with all its current specific configuration. On the lower left side, we see our host and its relation to other data. Here we see processes and services running on the host and the applications. With this topological classification, we can better understand the context of the host and integrate it in our process. Furthermore, Virtual.io records all changes for you. On the right side, you can see our host again On the bottom timeline, you can see how the host has changed over time. In this case, for example, an update was performed 11 days ago. It was an update of the operating system version. On the left side, you can see again a special view which visualized all changes in your IT or organization for a defined period life. This way, we have all the detailed information and changes in Virtual.io, a good basis for change request monitoring. With this, we have all the ingredients together to monitor change requests. We can identify the affected instances with their change status. For example, we can see which instances had the desired state before the change request execution time, which were deleted during the execution period, or which reached the expected state. Thus, we can monitor the execution live in the defined period of a planned change and intervene if necessary. After the change request has been executed, an audit-proof PDF documentation will be generated. This contains all recorded activities during the change request execution. You can use this documentation as proof for auditors or for cooperation with service providers without them needing access to Virtual.io. So I hope I gave you the basics and the conceptual insights into how we do things at Virtual.io. Now we would like to show you in the live demo how easy it is to define monitoring document change request. Okay, we switch over to Virtual.io. Now we can see Virtual.io. It's a web-based application. We use here an environment in our SaaS platform, and we have here a lot of data inside. For our use case, I focused specific data. I choose for demonstration an SSL certificate, and you can see here a lot of SSL certificates. For us are interesting all SSL certificates with the name demo, which starts with the name demo, and we can have a view inside one SSL certificate, and you can see here all details of the certificate. And yeah, there are a lot of data that describes the certificate. For example, here we have how long it's valid, or in our use case, we want focus the bit length of the SSL certificate. It means our use case should be a security officer come to you and said, okay, we have to update all SSL certificates to the bit length of 4,000 bits, yes? And let's see how we can do it, or how we can execute it in Virtual.io, and how we can monitor and document it here. Therefore, I switch over to the change request management module, and here we have empty change request. I predefine the day, the date, period, and here we have some descriptions. And now we can define which instances are involved in the change. And here I have very strong capabilities to filter my data. In this case, I say, okay, I'm looking for SSL certificates, and you can see here in the preview that I have a lot of SSL certificates that I have here in my environment stored. But I don't like it to change every SSL certificate, only the certificates that start with the name demo. That's why we can here use the rule filter, and I can say, okay, let's go in SSL certificate, and here can we say, we choose the bit length. That's only for easier definition. And here I can define now that the bit length of the SSL certificates that are involved in this change request are bit length with 2045. And you can see the filter is working. We have now only SSL certificates with this bit length. And we have here another SSL certificate that we don't want. Then we add a new condition here and we said, okay, we like only certificates that start on the domain level with the name demo, where we have the domain. Here's the domain. I choose the path to the domain. And I can say, okay, if you start with demo, then you're a part of my change request. And now I have select the instances that should be involved in this process. And now I can define with what is my expected result on the attribute level. And my expected result is, I can define it here, that the bit length, I choose the operator, select my attribute path, here's the bit length, and my expected result is that the bit length has to change to 4096. Perfect. Now we have everything defined. It was also possible to define stakeholders and notifications, but it's not interested right now. So we can go up and we can define the change request period. It means the time where the execution is planned. And I set from 13 to 17. And I save my change request. Now I have a good defined change request. Here's a little improvement, what we have to do. And now I can go over in the monitoring section of the change request. That means it's not started right now. It should start in the next minute. And we can see here the planned change request period time. And we see that we have here pending instances. Pending instances means that are all instances that we plan to change. And we will wait that we go in a start section. Okay, now it's started. That means now I go to console of a Linux machine, and here I have the possibility to change the certificates. Let's see if it works. That means that is a command line, and I can change or I renew the certificates with a new bit length, and our one importer will be import the new SSL certificates. And in the best case, we will see in the next minute how the instances change her state from pending to an expected way. You can see the first SSL certificate was imported, the second is imported, and yes, I did forget to import the demo 3 version. That's why we have here a clear situation that we pending, that we know that this one has to be changed, but in this case, for this use case, I don't like it to change it. So we have a result with some expected and some unexpected states for you here. Now we have to wait to 3 o'clock and 70 minutes. That means we have to wait 3 minutes. It's a long time. That's why I will show you another use case in the time between we get the final result. I go to the live compliance dashboard. It's a possibility to check all technology and products that we used here in our demo environment for life cycle and security data. And for example, if we detect here that in this case, the Jenkins has a problem in the life cycle section, because here you can see that we use not the latest release version actually. So we get the recommendation to switch to a newer version. And here I can create directly a change request with pre-filled information about the expected results and the involved instances. There's only picture for you to show how easy it is to initialize a change request, to define the change request, and in the end you get monitoring, and we will see our defined change request. We need 1 minute more, and then we will go in the finished section. And my expectation is, because we don't change this SSL certificate with the right bit length, so that this instance go in an unexpected state. Okay, we have to wait. If we have here 15, 17 and 1 minute more, I believe. So we now on a time 17. Now the change request will close, because the time period was reached. And now we can say, okay, the change request was successful for this SSL certificates, and for the demo 3 SSL certificate was not successful, but it's not changed to the right state. You get here detailed info. It is unexpected because the bit length is 2048, and we expected 4096. And if you see the expected one, then you can see here that reached the right bit length. And we have the possibility to generate a PDF, and this PDF helps you to communicate with internal departments, with service providers, for the result of your change request that you are monitoring here in Virtual.io, and you get a very objective documentation. So let's come back to my last slide. And before you ask your question, let me summarize what I've just shown you. With change request execution automation, we can increase the quality of change request definition and execution. This requires real-time inventory and change detection. And with approaches like this, we can move our company forward again a bit in the direction of digitalization. We can formalize knowledge and thus break up head monopolies. And last but not least, we can reduce effort. And especially in times of shortage of skilled workers, I can automate unloved and monotonous tasks such as documentation. Let us use our time for value creating work again. Thank you for your interest and time. And now it's the right time for your question, please.